This holiday season, we all wish for hope and healing. Children and families who spend their holidays at the hospital deserve a reason to believe in first steps, in giggles, high fives, and hugs. For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided world-class care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to help patients and healthcare heroes this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday. That's childrensnational.org/holiday.
The Traveler's Inn, written by Travis I. Sivart, narrated by Travis I. Sivart. Episode 2, Mind Over Manners. Luna Rose stepped into the roadside tavern and inn. Lightning flashed. The muddy street behind her shone in a single snapshot of white. Everyone stared at the woman shaking off the cold and wet. She ignored them. It was always like this when she went into a new place. People never expected a powerful woman in leather and plate armor to step through their door. "Why is it always like this every time we go into a new place?" Moist Manx whined, stepping around the woman who blocked the whole door. "Why do you always stop right in the middle of the doorway so the rest of us can't even get past you? I mean, come on. It's raining outside and we're cold and hungry. Have some consideration for others." "She just likes showing off for the locals," Mogget's Hauser chimed in, stepping out from behind her on the other side and hanging his cloak on a hook beside the door. "You see, lad, she's got an ego the size of her—" "Luna!" A booming voice cut off Mogget's commentary. "And Moist. And yeah, Hauser. You too, I guess." Gunther stepped up and enfolded his arms around the priestess, lifting her off the ground and pressing her to his chest that gleamed with a sheen of sweat. A turgid nipple awkwardly pressed into her rosy cheekbone, threatening to slip upward and put out an eye. A small transparent dragon peeked at the woman through the barbarian's golden locks, hissing. "Stop that, you imbecile!" Luna growled, wedging an arm between her and the barbarian's chest. She pried herself free and dropped to the floor. "I am a warrior of the goddess of the hunt, Aretha, and so you should respect me. It's one of our main tenets." Gunther had already turned away, reaching for the thin, pimply youth who was dressed in all black. "No." Manx held up one finger while looking down at a palm-sized gramophone in his hand. "The rules are no touching. We follow the rules, right, big guy?" The barbarian nodded, grinning widely as the greasy youth glared up at him through the damp strands of jet-black hair. Cranking the handle of the gramophone with 2 fingers and holding it up to his ear, thin, tinny music whined from the brass horn-like projection on top of the device. "I'll take a hug, big guy." Mogget's Hauser stood in front of the giant northerner, arms held out to receive the mass of affection. "I'm sure you would, mage." Gunther spat the final word and turned away. The room burst into activity. Drinks clinked, conversation erupted, and all heads turned away from the newcomers as if they had never come into the room. "Barkeep!" Gunther bellowed, causing the small creature on his shoulder to duck back into his hair. "Drinks for my friends, and some warm grubs. We'll take the table near the fire, and keep the ale flowing." "I think you mean grub, sir," Cogsley drawled from behind the bar. "But I will see if we can dig something up that will satisfy your indubitably questionable tastes." The group settled around a table in front of the roaring fireplace. Gunther dropped into a chair at the head of the table. He put both palms down on the surface in front of him, smiling at his adventuring companions. The magical creature on his shoulder preened its tail. Manx slid into the chair furthest from the fire, hunching his shoulders and pressing the musical box to his ear while glaring around the room from under his stringy bangs. Luna huffed and sat on a bench, crossing one leg over the opposite knee. She folded her arms across her steel breastplate, reaching down and shifting the massive iron morning star so it settled on the floor beside her rather than the handle sticking up. She looked around the room to see who was watching and judging her. Maugus turned a chair around, dropped onto it, and folded his arms across the top of the bag. He smiled at the barmaid sidling up to the group. The woman held a tray almost as large as the tabletop above her head with one hand. Reaching up, she grabbed the 4 mugs and set them on the table, followed by a pitcher of ale, a straw basket of bread, a bowl of butter, a trencher of cheese, a bowl of fruit, and a stack of wooden plates. She deftly avoided Maugut's hand, wound her way back through the crowd, and disappeared into the kitchen. The mage rolled a large coin across the back of his knuckles, a sly smile on his lips, watching the room like someone sizing up livestock. Drinks were poured and distributed by Gunther, and Luna passed out cloth napkins and silverware from the center of the table. The 4 settled back, piled bread, cheese, and fruit on their plates, and sampled the ale. "Hauser." Gunther said the name like he bit into a bruised apple. "Check the board. I've got it on good authority that the perfect job is due to be posted any moment now." Smiling, Maugut stood and moved through the inn to a board between the stage and the hallway to the privies that was littered with messages and posts. The man stood to one side, scanning the board with practiced nonchalance and looking around the room for potential marks. It was a tough crowd in the inn tonight, and an odd lot to boot. An old man sat at the bar, chatting with a wiry woman with a steel arm. A bare-chested man with dark, wavy hair watched the newcomers at their table, a smaller man talking and waving his hands beside the first. A bespectacled scholar was explaining something to a younger man beside him at a table near the door. A gnome sat glaring at the magical blue dragon, nuzzling Gunther's ear, a huge man with a misshapen face grinning like an idiot beside him, eating some sort of pie with his hands, and various other patrons eating and nodding to the beat of the band. Turning his attention to the message board, Maugut saw a small, clear crystal blinking a bright, white light above the parchment. Leaning in for a closer look, the mage grinned and pulled the paper down. "Romance," Luna was saying as Maugus returned to the table. "That is ridiculous. I don't need no stinking romance. I am a woman of action and don't have time for anything of that sort." "Spiders!" Maugut slapped the parchment in the middle of the table amongst the steaming platter of roasted beast, bowl of boiled beets, and the trencher of buttered potatoes. The wizard swirled his robes and took his seat again, smiling like the cat who ate the canary. He rubbed at his nose, which had started twitching with anticipation. "What?" Gunther jerked away from the table, raising his feet from the floor. The magical lizard squawked in surprise and scrambled for purchase on the warrior's bare shoulder. Leaning forward, the barbarian daintily lifted the paper to look under it, the mini dragon leaning forward, also peering suspiciously. "Where, Hauser?" he asked, holding the paper with 2 fingers. "On the post." Maugus pointed at the sheet in the big man's hand. The warrior dropped it and jerked his hand back, unconsciously wiping it on his fur skivvies. "The job, and the best one up there, I may add," Maugus smirked, "tells of a village plagued by giant spiders who drag their people to an abandoned tower. It promises a rich reward and all the booty we can loot from the tower, which once was home to a school of wizards." Luna reached forward, rescuing the paper from the gravy bowl. The band began a sad tune, discordant notes wafting through the air. Manx tilted his head, nodded, and wound his miniature gramophone in the opposite direction. He clicked the button on the side, and the magical device began recording the song and adding it to the teen's repertoire of angsty music stored within. The war priestess read over the posting and slapped it back down on the table. "I think this is perfect." Luna tucked an errant strand of strawberry blonde hair behind her ear. People need help, and we can get a nice tithe for the church from the reward, not to mention the treasure we can scrape up from the tower. I vote that we do it. I'm in, Banks mumbled, fiddling with his music box. Spiders are cool, and I'm bored. Well, Gunther forked a piece of meat and shoved it into his mouth. What was that? Moggins looked up from filling his plate with beef and potatoes. I don't think we should be too hasty. We should look at what else is up there before we make a decision. And this isn't a voting thing. I am the party leader, and I get final say. And I say I should go over and pick something better from the board. Why? Moggins smiled, cutting through a rare slice of meat. We have financial reasons, and of course some altruistic reasons, too, to do this. And since when do we do what only one of us wants to do? The barbarian glared at the mage, the small head of the dragon looking back and forth between the two. Manx snickered and popped a chunk of bread into his mouth when Gunther turned to glare his way. Is it the spiders? Moggins asked. Because if you're afraid of spiders, then we should definitely go look for something else. We wouldn't want our fearless leader to be uncomfortable. After all, if we don't have all our heads in the game, then we wouldn't be at the top of our game. Moggins smiled meaningfully at Gunther and popped a potato into his mouth. No, Gunther blurted. No. Spiders aren't scared of me. I mean, I don't have any issue with slaying spiders. They're vile creatures, that's all. And I've killed lots of them before, that's all. I just wanted something new to eradicate, not just some little annoying pest. Oh, they're giant spiders. Larger than dogs, maybe even the size of horses. That should be something worth adding to your list of conquests. Hairy legs, dripping mandibles, poisonous fangs, and lots of beady eyes. It would be really super heroic if we did this. Your family's name would be glorified with this simple act of squishing some bugs. The barbarian paled. The blue glowing reptile on his shoulder stroked the man's hair soothingly. They aren't bugs, Manx muttered, looking at Moggins. They're arachnids, like scorpions and ticks. I had a whole sheet of them pinned to my bedroom wall. They were never on the roach, fly, and beetle sheet, always on the other one, and much more dangerous than just bugs. Gunther swallowed hard, dropping his double-tined fork to his plate, his appetite gone. Fine, the barbarian said, his voice cracking. This sounds great. Just great. Then we all agree. Moggett's smile widened. This is the job for us. We should eat up, get a good night's sleep, and leave first thing in the morning. Great. Just great, Gunther repeated. The dragon cooed, rubbing its head along the big man's jaw. Dawn, after a good night's rest for most of the group, found the adventurers at the same table. A platter of fried eggs, slices of ham, and chili-fired potatoes sat almost empty in the center. Gollum Floor Cleaner pushed a broom around the place, creating drifts of sawdust that the scatterimps flew down and redistributed. Cogsley wiped down the bar, his dome head pivoting, searching for any spot he'd missed. Why not? Moggins asked. Because it doesn't make any sense. Gunther slammed a fist on the table, causing the magical beast on his shoulder to flinch and hiss. It makes sense to me, Luna interjected. We start by questioning the villagers and gathering all the information we can before going to the tower. They may know something that would help. What could they know? Gunther ran a hand through his wavy locks. The glowing blue dragon's gaze caught the movement, and it left playfully, bounding through the barbarian's hair. That their people are being taken by giant spiders, and that they can't do anything about it? The large man pulled the creature from his head, idly turning her onto her back in his arms and stroking her belly. The beast cooed and stared adoringly at the warrior. I agree with Gunther, Manx muttered. Talking to people sounds boring. It secures our reward from the village, Magus sighed. We need them to know that it's us going out there to save them. That way, when we show up dragging a bag full of dripping, poisonous spider mandibles, they know we took care of the problem, not someone else. I've been cheated before, and I don't want it to happen again. That's right. Professor Elementius yawned the word as he shuffled by, still in his bedclothes and holding a tankard of ale. Spiders don't have mandibles. Uneducated critters. Besides, the mage continued before the barbarian could interrupt, we need someone to tell of our bravery and honor in case we die. I mean, if we're all killed horribly under hundreds of hairy legs of hungry spiders, someone needs to tell the tale. Hundreds. Gunther swallowed hard, swiped up his mug of ale, and emptied it in one draught. Good morning, Jack said, appearing beside the table and causing the barbarian to jump. The group chorused greetings at the inn's proprietor. I see you're setting out for the tangled web we weave job, Jack said, and I just wanted to let you know that we have the proffered reward set aside in the back for when you return. We will also have other services available here at your disposal if you return. If, Gunther moaned, and his admirer snuggled into his chest. Sounds great, Morgan smiled up at the man, and we're thrilled to hear it. But is there any chance of us getting a small advance, just some traveling money for supplies and whatnot? Nope, Jack returned the man's smile. No chance at all, but it will all be waiting for you upon return, including shares set aside for any funeral expense of any who don't make it. Keep in mind, resurrection and regrowth of limbs costs extra. Right, just great. Gunther offered a weak smile, the teeny dragon snoring in the makeshift cradle of his muscled arms. Jerome pouted. His diminutive frame slumped on the bar, arms crossed and lip jutting halfway to the end of his protuberant schnoz. Durg patted the gnome gently, the half-ogre's huge hand covering his partner's whole back. Cogsley wiped around the illusionist's feet, diligently removing each scuff mark to the countertop as Jerome shifted. Excuse me. Jack appeared beside the two. What have I told you about putting your feet on the furniture? I did mention that, sir. The bartender's tone was dry and condescending. Thank you, Cogsley. Jerome, what's going on? The gnome looked up, his eyes large and glistening with emotion. That brute! The wee man pointed at the door, his voice cracking. Stole Blueberry! Blueberry? Jack looked at Durg for clarification. Bonesy Blue Lizzie. Durg grinned, happy to be part of the conversation. Wasn't that an illusion? Jack cocked his head and wrinkled his forehead. Yes. Jerome sniffled. Aren't they supposed to disappear at the end of use, concentration, when the spell is done, or whatever? Yes. Jerome nodded. Then how did Gunther steal it? Jack asked. I don't know, Jerome moaned. That's what I want to know. And if anyone should be allowed to keep Blueberry, it should be me. I made her, and I should be allowed to have her as a pet. I work hard on my illusions, and never had one become real before. Did you ever think that maybe there was something in Gunther that made Blueberry become real? Jack put a hand on the smaller man's shoulder. Maybe the guy just really needed a friend. And you know that the fairy folks specialize in enchantment. Could it maybe a wee fae have seen this and decided to take the form of Blueberry? Jerome, come on now. You know illusions aren't real. So shouldn't there be another reason that this happened? Yeah, the gnome snuffled. But it's still not fair. He's just a big, dumb barbarian with daddy issues. He isn't even nice. He doesn't deserve a blueberry of his own. I know, Jack patted Jerome. But think of it this way. If he doesn't make it back, maybe Blueberry will come back to you. Oh, Jack! The gnome's eyes lit up and he leapt to his feet on the bar. Do you really think so? Do you think the muscle moron will die horribly? Jack verbally stumbled. I didn't really say that. Whatever. Somatics. Jerome stepped forward, now eye to eye with the proprietor, and grabbed him by his shirt. I just want my Blueberry back. Do you think there's a chance they could die? Please, say yes, Jack. Don't tease me like this. Well, yes, it is a possibility, but Jack held up a finger to stop the gnome's celebratory explosion. I hope they do make it back. This mission is very important, and if they fail, it will cause a lot of problems for the inn. Well, some things are worth the price, Jerome smiled. And for all the regulars here, Jack stared at the small man pointedly. Like the inn being decommissioned and grounded, or even possibly someone else gaining the lease. Oh, Jerome deflated. Yeah, I guess that would be bad. Yes, it would be, Jack nodded. Now please, get off the bar before Cogsley blows a rod. Please, sir, Cogsley drew out the word. I appreciate your concern, but do not bring my personal life into this. I am just here to clean the mess left behind by unthinking, uncaring, unfeeling living creatures. My hobbies and pleasures outside of work need not be addressed. Cogsley, Jack chuckled, you never leave. You're always here, even when I offer to give you time off. Yes, sir. The automaton nodded. Indeed, you are correct, sir. I'm a slave of my own work ethic. Now, Dirk, if you would kindly remove Master Jerome from the bar top, I can get back to my drudgery that is my pride and joy every moment I am here.
Amazon is changing the way we think about TVs. Say hello to the Amazon Fire TV Omni Series, a new 4K ultra-high-definition smart TV with Dolby Vision and hands-free Alexa. This is Amazon's first hands-free TV with all your favorite Fire TV and Alexa features, now in one TV. You can stream all of your favorite content, shows, music, and more. The Amazon Fire TV Omni Series is available in a variety of sizes and competitive prices in store at Best Buy or at Amazon.com.